the lessons learned and, you know, the difficult parts of learning that lesson.
I mean, we were really ambitious in the first quarter.
How are we feeling about the social media system now that you've got about 10 requests to do dancing on Instagram? If you do nothing else, what should someone do?
Although, yes, it can be daunting and it can be really, really, heavy. It's so important to...
You know, not everyone likes champagne. You do you. Welcome back to Generate Growth, the podcast where we talk all things ecom, growth and marketing. Today marks the 3-month anniversary of Generate.
We got through a quarter.
Yeah, we did. We survived.
We just about. Oh, why did we wear party hats? Maybe I can get Sheena to edit party hats.
Maybe we should put the sunglasses back on
maybe
the
something,
week.
Yeah.
So today's a bit of a special episode, and it's a little bit of a short and snappy one to keep things nice and concise. And we're going to be talking about 3 lessons that we would keep from rebranding.
Yep.
How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, excited. I think there's a lot that we've learned in such a small period of time, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, I'm really excited to dig into it.
Amazing. So I'm going to do this a little bit different this time, and I've got kind of 3 overarching statements that I'm going to throw at you, and then you can break them down in terms of the lessons learned and, you know, the difficult parts of learning that lesson.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we've learned in the last 3 months is to stop changing 5 things at once.
I think any business owner is guilty of that, aren't they? They're chasing all these different things. And I think we had this huge opportunity when obviously Develop Digital got rebranded into Generate. We were starting afresh from our social perspective, and it was it's kind of a time to change our messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were doing at the same time was repeatedly testing and seeing what resonates. And I'm sure that you'll have your own flavour of this, but it seems that we kind of just went gung-ho and we just were right, let's just do everything. And during that period, it was stressful for us and the team, Mm-hmm. It can be very difficult not to have direction, mm-hmm. and it's just kind of this open field of mm-hmm. let's just test all this. And one of the things that we did realise is once we just focus specifically on something and we're not just flitting between tasks, projects, things like that, it works out so much better.
Yeah. I think in terms of making things tangible, so we can kind of give someone a takeaway from it. One of the things that I implemented, and I know that you absolutely love this, is our little business roadmap. Oh, yeah. So I basically created this mental little chart in ClickUp that basically went, here's what we're working on this week, here's what we're working on this week, and it kind of just went through an entire month. Yeah, it's all staggered. I think they call it a Gantt chart or something like that. But fundamentally what that did was give us an overview of what we were going to be working on each week and why we were working on it. If we got stuck on anything, which we did on some of them, because, we were changing a few things at once, but kind of stretching it out somewhat.
I mean, we were really ambitious in the first quarter. We recorded fuck ton of content. Mm-hmm. We recorded a professional branded video. We had to change up the website, the way that we communicated case studies, our pricing structure, our offer delivery, who we're trying to speak to. We, social media strategies. I think we did really well considering. Yeah. And I think there was a point at the beginning where it felt really chaotic and on fire. And then I remember you having one-to-ones with team members, and that fire was still prevalent in that Feb time. And then March, I think we're starting to get into a little bit of a swing of a system. And this is where perfection isn't always the quickest and easiest route to take. You just have to be progressing consistently to learn quickly. And from that, we kind of put a timeline on, outbound leads are one thing, and going and chatting to people and having those active conversations. We were expecting leads from that because, we have a really great, case study offering, a really great service offering, a really good business in general. But we weren't expecting during this period, because our inbound lead source had disappeared, is to get inbound leads. Yeah. And we got them. And I think that was so huge. This just happened really late on, but for us, I wasn't expecting that in year 1. because I know how important it is to build a presence. But I think that goes to show that what we're doing is resonating, and it allows us to have that confidence and really double down.
Yeah. I feel like you almost backed up exactly what I said then, though, by backing it in the months, because I was like, wait, what happened in March? And I was like, oh, yeah, we built out the roadmap. So we made everything that we were working on tangible, and we assigned timeframes to it. Anything that was falling kind of like markedly slower than it should have done, we pivoted on. We kind of introduced it into the next week. We pushed anything back that needed pushback as a result, and that kept everyone accountable. And like every single Monday morning, we would have our meeting, our sales meeting with Sheena, and we would be like, okay, here's the roadmap. How are you doing on this? How are you doing on this? And how am I doing on this? We'd have that conversation, and that's it. We were held accountable for the week. And that was when everything became so much easier to follow, because we weren't changing 5 systems at once. We were working on one task at one given point each in the roadmap.
And then also the team become aware of what's happening higher up, right? I would then have the opportunity of going, really unsexy stuff, but I've got to meet my accountant 2 to 3 times this week because of X, Y, Z. And that allowed the team to go, okay, well, maybe you cannot do all this week. Maybe I have to realistically reset my expectation. And it was things that we started out that we were going to do that we just completely scrapped, because we were like, the energy isn't best focused there. And again, what the original strategy wasn't really so much of a strategy. It was just like pressing play on everything at once. And I think sometimes that needs to happen. Like that kind of like forward thinking comes first, because you have to act quick in business, or you're acting slow. And that is ultimately like where, you know, people can be left behind. So definitely, I think 5 things at once. It was chaos, but there was a lot that we learned from it, and then we built into a structured system that, you know, now is going to start to breed into something a little bit more predictable.
Yeah. So too long didn't read version. Systems, use them. They're not sexy, but they work. So the cost of just one more channel, that was the next thing that we learned over the last 3 months. How are you feeling about that one?
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we started Instagram, we were like, let's just add TikTok on. And then we went, let's just add
social media.
We were just like, let's just add this on. Let's just add that. And on LinkedIn, we can do this. And then we just have the professional LinkedIn. And it was like, we were going so like far. But I think like, you know, the cost of that is that it comes with the burnout and like the frustration almost that like, you know, you're trying so many things at once. And to my own, you know, to my own knowledge, I do think it did play some benefit of just one more channel, because what that allowed us to do is learn very quickly. We decided on our social strategy being so splayed from the beginning. And if you look at our social media, it seems crazy.
It is.
Because we went for it, though. We were just like, let's just try everything. Educational content, funny content, this, that, and this, that. Statics, UGC, like what works, what doesn't work. Let's try and learn it as quickly as possible. And it was very stressful for the team. And I really appreciate the team, you know, holding it steady during that period, because it was so like fly off, like let's try this, let's try that. Oh, by the way, this is coming up tomorrow. Maybe we should do something for this. And that can be so stressful as a work environment when there's that like sporadic nature. But what I learned was, if we hadn't done that, we'd be so far behind. And the best progress sometimes is just getting started. Like you can almost get in your own head. So we have a TikTok channel and an Instagram, and my LinkedIn is still growing, like all these different things. But the problem with that is, even though we've spread like wide, it slows down learning in a different way, because it's like you have to learn all these channels and understand. But it sped us up because we were like, this is the one to focus on. And we doubled down on the one to focus on. And then we unlocked different ideas to manage the others. And we pushed people into their zones of geniuses quickly. Like, okay, I really love doing this kind of style of content and all that stuff. And it allowed for that creativity still to happen. So although, yes, it can be daunting and it can be really, really, you know, heavy, it's so important to, you know, weigh up the pros and cons of that situation. And I do think we got a lot of pros from it as well. And again, now what we're doing, we're systemizing it.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I do move on to the next statement, how are we feeling about the social media system now that you've got about 10 requests to do dancing on Instagram? Okay, moving on. The lessons in what we've stopped doing then, the kind of like anti-list of what we've learned over the last 3 months.
I think a big one that we actually didn't mention prior, we've had like conversations about this, but we stopped getting in our own heads that we are not worthy speaking to, especially me as a founder. We attended 4 networking events in March. That's 1 a week. And we were traveling for them as well, here, there and everywhere.
Yeah.
So we stopped not believing in ourselves as a business. And I think that was a huge one of taking the shackles off. And with that come the confidence of, we now do not falter on price.
Yeah.
We do not falter on service delivery. What we're going to achieve for a client, the fundamentals of what we're looking for in a client. We do not stray away from our ICP, and we will never do that, because we understand that ultimately, again, I'm always saying about predictability in ecom brands, but we want predictability in this business, and we want people who actually want to be working with us, not against us.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big confidence play. So a lot of our anti-list is around not doing old behaviours that would have dragged down our confidence.
Yeah. I think part and parcel of that is learning to get rejected.
Oh, huge one.
I've been really, really trying to work on that because I'm like, please don't say no to me. That is not very nice. I don't want to hear the word no. But the other day I literally sent a DM to a brand that I'd literally seen. They were on the cover of Cosmo. They were such a unique product. Like, they were such this unique product, and I'm not going to say out loud what the product was because I feel like we'll get flagged on YouTube. But I absolutely love the brand. I love the positioning. Them as a person felt representative of me, and I was like, I fucking love that. I was like, I want to work with them. And I was like, shall I DM them? Shall I do it? And I was like, yeah.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Worst is that I hear a no.
Or,
and then,
worse is they might hurl abuse at you, because we've had that before. But like at the end of the day, that's indicative of their character,
Literally. And I think that's the thing about rejection, isn't it? And that's kind of like what's so important in business, like learning to get rejected. You can very quickly learn that it might be a no because they don't have the money. It might be a no because they don't vibe with you as a person, and that's fine. Not everyone likes champagne. You do you.
Meryl Streep again.
But it's fine. Rejection is fine. It's safe. It happens in business, and not the end of the world.
It also gives you like the fuel of like understanding what is resonating. Like sometimes we can get so tied up in how the perfect DM structure should be, and it stops us from hitting our quota of like reaching out to X amount of brands because we're obsessed with them. What you need to weigh up in your head is the loss of the outcome, because if you're going to lose the opportunity potentially to work with your dream client because you're a bit too tetchy, and it's what we're talking about, perfection over progress. We say it all the time. If you're going to lose out on that opportunity because you've got in your own head, then maybe you need a little bit of a wake up call.
Yeah, I love that. Okay then, so if you do nothing else, what should someone do? 3 points from what we've learned.
Ooh, I think for me is, always go for it first, even if there isn't a perfect strategy system support in place.
Launch imperfect
and fix the cracks afterwards, because it's always fixable once you know what's working and you can just dispel the what doesn't.
Number 2?
Number 2, I think, is, really respect your time and your team's time, and be quick to make decisions and choices. And number 3 is respect the process of business. Nothing happens overnight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Next, we are going to be talking about a subject that you're very, very passionate about. And it's no-click environments and agentic commerce.
Here we go.
So another AI conversation, but more specifically about buying environments, and I guess how that customer funnel is starting to compress a little bit now that we're seeing, ChatGPT pop up on platforms like Triple Whale a lot more than we ever used to.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's next week. No-click environments and agentic commerce.
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting. Are we going to sign off the way that we sign off, Team Me?
Let's do it.
AI is becoming more human and humans are becoming more AI.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of small businesses go out of like business because they don't know what to do or how to navigate the ever-changing customer cycle. Biggest thing for me right now is the shift in buyer behavior. It's huge and it's noticeable and it's tangible.
The biggest hot topic for us recently